All right, guys. So I keep thinking about EVE Online and whether or not that I should play it, and I really don't know that much about it or how it even plays. So I thought that I would see a more beginner-friendly video for it instead of the one that I jumped into last time. So let's watch this video and check it out.
Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. In today's video I wanted to bring you a review of EVE Online in 2024 and what I experienced as a new player coming into this game about 20 years late. Full disclosure, I've only put 200 hours into this game so far. I feel like 200 hours is a pretty good starting point, and
I love the world of MMOs, dude. I've only put 200 hours into this game. What would be a completion level playthrough of any other game is like, I feel like this is a pretty good place to start where I can make a video, you know, telling people what my experiences so far have been.
just scratched the surface, so wouldn't trust any of these other reviews that you're seeing where people just rotate around an asteroid for 20 minutes and then call the game bad.
This is the point where I would log out, never play or think about the game ever again.
I'm 200 hours in and I've only just barely scratched the surface on what there is to do.
People don't
but I wanted to
understand.
show you some of the things I have done so far, and then I'm going to try and mention the other things that I haven't done as well, so you can kind of get an understanding of what there is to do and what you're supposed to be doing in the game. As a new player into the game, you're going to be started out with an intro quest, kind of leads you through the basics of the game. It will show you the controls and how to use the combat. Also, we'll show you the basics around mining.
I feel like EVE Online would make me dizzy. Is there anyone who has gotten motion sickness from this game? And if so, I'd love to hear from it. There is no overworld, right? Like you're never like just a character walking around on ground. You're always in a spaceship.
Once you get out of the tutorial, it kind of leaves you wondering what you're supposed to be doing. I feel like this is what happens to a lot of players, and is probably why some people don't get that far into the game to actually be able to experience it. A couple of things in the menu that they have the Air Career program up here, where you can kind of choose the path that you want to take. If you want to be an explorer, enforcer, industrialist, or soldier of fortune, this is the PvP one here. I kind of tried to sample them all to see what they were all about. I started off with the enforcer role here, and what I did was I built myself this cormorant, which you actually get from the starting storyline. Depending on which faction you choose, you'll get a destroyer. You'll also get a mining ship as kind of the tutorial, and you go into the fitting tab, and there's all sorts of stuff that you can add onto your ship. All of these modules you can add, so you can fully customize your ship. There's all sorts of stuff that you can put on here to make your ship stronger, and then you have to stay within these constraints of CPU and power grid. You also have to worry about your capacitor. Your capacitor is like your battery, so you want to make sure your capacitor is stable, otherwise you run out of battery, you lose your shields.
Okay, so this game is obviously for me, and I could basically, in this video now, I feel like, I still just like, I don't know if it's worth my time or not to put into it. Like, I don't know if it's one of those games I'm going to have any fun with until I've put a ton of hours into it and really figured everything out, because this is so complicated. But I love that we're at minute 2:20, or we're 2 minutes and 20 seconds into this video so far, and he's already talking about the menu things. People love to get on to me in video games. They're like, why do you care so much about all this stuff that you're not even at yet? Because I'm going to get there eventually, dude, and I need to figure out what the heck is going on before I get there so that I'm not surprised and have no idea what I'm doing.
I think so. There is a really in-depth building system. There are a lot of builds online, but I really enjoyed making my own builds.
Totally.
It's like my gummy ship. Built cormorant, and then I did these things called filaments. Filaments are basically these keys here. So hit one of these keys and you use it, and it will then open up an abyss for you. And when you go inside this abyss, it's going to be basically a dungeon, and depending on what type of ship, you can either have 1, 2, or 3 players. I went in a destroyer. It's recommended to have 2 destroyers, so I was just getting twice the loot. I kind of built up some funds doing that, and then I started to build myself a mining ship. And you can start by doing like rock mining, and I have some footage here of one of the mining barges.
This kind of looks really rad.
And I'm just doing basic asteroid mining here, which is pretty cool. You can have mining drones. This is something that's very relaxing to do in the game. There's different types of security in space. So there'll be security from basically 1.0 to 0, and then you can actually get nullsec, which is below 0. And depending on what type.
So, okay, so I've seen people say this sec all the time. I've heard this term all over and over and over again. So nullsec is like no security, I'm assuming, and then every sec above that, like, you know, triple sec, all those triple sec. little drinky is like extra security levels, and security is provided by NPCs, or is it provided by mainly people and you're in enemy territory? Because I know that the different star systems are like owned by actual corporations that players own.
Type of zone you're in, there's NPC police, basically.
NPC.
When you're in these higher security zones, if another player was to attack you, NPC police would basically come for them. So if you want to do some really chill, just mining asteroids in high security where you don't really have to worry about other players, and you can just sit there, you can watch some Netflix, and you can just bring in some good money.
There's AFK training. Well, I do come from RuneScape. You know we love us a good AFK training.
Other types of mining, like gas mining, which you'll find inside wormhole space. So wormholes, you have to scan down anomalies that are in space. You'll find a wormhole. I built a dedicated scanning ship so I could fly around and scan down wormholes, and then we'll go inside a wormhole, which wormholes are completely no security when you're inside of there. So you could be killed by another player at any time. Once you're in there, you can find these gas sites, and then I made this little mining rig that has gas scoops on it. So then you can go inside there and then you can scoop gas. And this is really good money. This is where I've actually been making the majority of my money. Also inside these wormholes, there are data sites where you can go and hack the data sites. And you can go in there and you can play this mini game where it's kind of like Minesweeper, and you hack these little boxes and then you can get the loot inside of them. It's actually a very difficult Minesweeper. Either that or I'm just really bad at Minesweeper. I'm not really sure. So those are just some of the things that you can find by scanning anomalies and going into wormholes. There's a lot more to it than that inside the wormholes.
How conversational is this game? Because I feel like this is a game that people would really benefit from talking to each other a lot on, so that you can sort of map out the things that you should be doing, and then also give you something to do while you're doing all these things. Because a lot of this game feels like it's very hands-off to a degree, that a lot of things you sort of navigate to places, you do the things, it all moves very slow, but there's not like a lot of really big intensity. You're not constantly hyper-focused on the thing that you're doing, so there's a lot of room for you to speak to other people. That's the way it seems to me. So if there's a good community and good conversation, I could see this game being a really good, like, I'm tired, I want to chill a little bit, and I want to play EVE Online kind of game.
Wormholes can lead you to other parts of space that are on the other side of the galaxy. So you can go, if you wanted to have a shortcut, to the other side of the galaxy, you can use the wormholes and go in one, go through the chain of wormholes, hop out on the other side of space, do business over there. If you needed to drop off cargo or move ships or whatever, it can turn, an hour flight into a, 5-minute flight. Also on the left menu here, we have what's called the agency. And this is where you're going to find a lot of things to do if you're a new player. So you'll go in here, there's all of these missions, encounters, exploration. I spent a lot of time in the exploration tab. You can find combat anomalies in here, cosmic signatures. This is what I was just talking about, where you scan things down. Combat anomalies would be where you build yourself a little fighter, you go in and you fight and you loot stuff off of the ships. There's also inside of...
It's a lot of menus. I wonder if I would actually enjoy this game. I appreciate the depth and the menuing and all of those things that are happening in the things that I've seen, but actual gameplay of this game looks like it's very slow. And I wonder if my brain is relaxed enough to be able to actually commit to something like this and play it for a long period of time. Is there a streaming community around this game, or is this not like that?
Encounters, there's a lot of
I see people role-playing hard,
which is indicated down here by the group activity icon. And you can come in here and you can do basically big boss battles with your friends and get tons of loot with the incursions and insurgencies. There's also factional warfare. So if you wanted to fight between the different factions, you could fight other players for factional warfare. There's missions here. If you wanted to play solo, you can do storyline missions. There's also a section in here if you wanted to fleet up with other people. People just put in groups. They create groups in here. It looks like a lot of these ones today are mining groups. So if you wanted to feel a little bit safer in lower security and come in and do some mining with a group of 6 people, here's one with 14 people. And they're in probably a low security space. And
okay, so security, I think I might have had it backwards before. So security is that there's less PvP chance if you have higher security, because people will get attacked by police officers if you have been attacked in an area like that. That's what it is.
I mean, there's strength in numbers, I guess. So you go in there and you can mine some good resources with a group. Here's also a PvP group. If you wanted to join that, you could go out and do some PvP. This game also has what they call our corporations. Corporations are essentially a guild that you would find in any other game. And the corporations have their own tax rates, what they tax their members. They have their alliances, wars, if they've ever been at war with other factions. You can fight over different systems, so your corporation can own a system and other corporations can come and try to take that from you, and you would defend that with your corporation. As you can tell, the graphics in this game are insanely good for being 20 years old. Totally. I assume they've probably updated the sound and graphics at some point in the past. The sound in this game is amazing. Just listen to this clip of me warping in my hauler.
Tickles my brain so good, dude.
Another thing that you can do as a new player to make some money is there is what is called planetary industry. You would come in and you would scan. What I'm mining for right now is heavy metals.
I like that this guy, while making this video, isn't just throwing out a whole bunch of buzzwords for me to sit here and try to parse through and see what this game feels like, that he's actually showing the things that you can do in this game. And as somebody who's played a lot of MMOs over my days, I can sort of extrapolate out what those things are going to feel like as I continue to play through. Like, there's a weird thing that happens whenever you're watching a video, where a video can make you feel like things are going to be really, really quickly, and you sort of have to use the knowledge that you already have about these kinds of games to understand that that's probably not going to be 100% of the truth, that there's going to be a lot of long moments where you're doing these things. Like, mining is not something that happens really quick. You don't do it in 30 seconds and then you're done. It's probably a thing that takes you a very long time to actually fill up on, and then you leave and you go back and you start over again. And so it's a big time sink in that kind of way. But if you enjoy the things that he's showing, if it looks fun to you to do these for long times, then that could be a really interesting game. I honestly, like, most of the should you play this game in X year videos are garbage. And I've reacted to quite a few of them, and just to sort of have my conversation about the games that I've already played, watching other people's videos about why you should play it, because I think they miss the point a lot of times. Like, they're honestly very rarely ever aimed or targeted at somebody who has played a lot of MMOs, especially for MMOs. They're usually targeted at people who maybe have just heard about this game for the first time. Maybe you've heard about New World or something, and it's like, should you play New World in 2024? And you keep seeing it on your Steam sale, and you play other games, and they bring it up to you, and they're like, it's a world where there are other players running around doing PvP and PvE, and you fight bosses. And it's like, yeah, no shit that's what you do in this game, bro. It's an MMORPG. Of course you do that. It's nice to have somebody make a video where they're actually talking about the mechanics of the game and what it feels like ahead of time, so I can feel like I have a little bit of experience before I either choose to go in or don't choose to go in.
Like, this is a extraction control unit. You put your little mining heads down. I've got my command center here, and this will mine all these resources off of this planet surface, and then it will feed them into these industry facilities, which will then convert it to another resource. You'll put them in the storage facility here, and then you can launch it up to space, where you can then take your hauler and collect it. And then I think what you're supposed to do after that is you take these tier 1 resources that you got off the planet and you haul them over to another planet, where you then build a facility that will then refine all those into better resources. Once you then refine all that stuff into better resources, you can come in here where you can put in blueprints. So I can build these ships once I collect all these resources. So you can essentially mine these on the planets and then refine them, build these ships, and then you can sell them to other players, or you can use them, or whatever you want to do. I have a bunch of different blueprints that I've found just from doing the Abyss. I've not done a lot of PvP in this game, but I actually...
The good thing about EVE Online, I think, is that there have been people who've been playing it ever since launch, so there's probably a pretty decent economy in there. And by what I mean by pretty decent economy, on me is just that there are people in the market for the things that you sell them because they have so much money at this point that they don't really care about spending it on things. So you can actually make good money by selling to other players, and a lot of the things that I would assume that you would make probably are still useful in some way or another because people blow up their ships all the time doing wars and battles and things. So having something that's just sort of like a little skipper to take around would be useful even to someone who's late game. So the game is probably built around those kind of mechanics of having player owned everything and player built everything.
Did get an achievement the other day for losing 15 ships. So you will get ganked a lot if you're in low security space. If that's something that frustrates you, then maybe it's not the game for you. I find it.
I love in video games where things are dangerous. You know, there's a certain type of gamer out there that has a real hard time starting over on something. But I think that one of the best ways to teach people is to have them do the thing over and over and over again. So if you've created a game where from the beginning you're playing the game, it's not like something like World of Warcraft where, you know, you go through this extended tutorial that is the leveling process, and then at the end of the game, you start actually playing the real game that everyone's into and everyone's playing. And EVE Online seems to be a game where it's like, no, from the get-go, this is the game. And if that's the case, then when you die and blow up your ship and you have to start all over from the ground up again and start rebuilding things, then you're going to just be learning how to do it better and better, and those skills are going to carry you later and later into the game as you continue forward.
Funny when people gank me because I've been ganking other people on other games for so many years. Yeah, yesterday, dude. I was in a wormhole and
I'm not a big ganker, you know? I feel like I want to be the guy who can take on the gank. Maybe this is a Dark Souls hangover that I believe that I'm supposed to be able to deal with multiple units at the same time all by myself, and that I shouldn't be able to just, like, I should be good enough at the game to just carry me through being ganked and being able to take out other people. And also, nothing feels better in this world than when people believe that they're going to take you. 3 people show up on you, like in League of Legends. 3 people show up on you and you just slaughter all 3 of them because you can outplay them. That's a really good, amazing feeling.
Just in there scanning for somewhere to then come back and bring my mining ship in and do some mining. And I fly around with this little scanning ship and I scan for places where I can go mine. And I was coming out of the wormhole. I saw one dude sitting there, and he launched a warp. What is it called? Like a warp nullifier bubble or something at me, and I couldn't move, couldn't warp. And then all of a sudden, probably 20 or 30 people that were sitting there. It was a meme group, and they're called Wormhole Police. They all came out of Cloak and all started attacking me at the same time. And then they proceeded to, after killing me and killing my pod, they then sent me a criminal citation in the mail, demanding that I pay them 1 billion credits, which I thought was pretty humorous. I don't think anybody actually pays them. Unfortunately, I lost the footage for that, but it was pretty funny, and I only lost just a little bit of money. It was really great to see a bunch of people just coming out of Cloak and jumping on one person. That might be something that you're interested in, is being a troll. It's something that I know that I probably do if I can continue to play the game for a while. I wanted to talk a little bit about how the skills work, and that kind of ties into monetization of the game.
Dude, it looks
the
really
whole skill
nice.
system is basically you can't operate anything in the game without a skill that goes along with it. If you wanted to use light missiles, you would need a skill that goes with it for light missiles. If you wanted to do drones, you need the skill for drones. Your requirements are all of these different things, right? You need mining 4, you need drones 1, you need all of this stuff to be able to operate these mining drones. Well, then those all tie to skills that are in here, and all of these skills take time to train. And at first, when you're level 1, they are very quick. This one's 19 minutes. You can see level 2 is an hour, level 3 is 8 hours. It goes all the way up to level 5, which can be like a week worth of training time. And then that's where because you can then go to the store and you can buy yourself skill points. And the skill points allow you to advance your training. So if you wanted to buy, 500,000 skill points, you might be able to advance your training on a particular thing by 4 or 5 days. New players, by the way, also get 1 million free skill points, which is really cool, which will advance your training by about 45 days. So it kind of gives you a good start into the game. I'll leave a link down in the description
just like catch-up
for
mechanics
how
for
to
sure.
get million free skill points. So if you do decide to play the game, you can just use my link down in the description and it will get you 1 million free skill points. It works even if you already have an account created, as long as you haven't used someone else's referral link. Back to the monetization, like I said, you can pay to advance all this stuff. My queue of stuff that I need to train is 342 days. Long time. If I wanted to pay,
Bro, what? 342 days?
Could shorten that. If you
Shorten
are
about
an
how much?
Omega member, which is a subscription service that costs $20 a month, all of this is half. Another thing about being an Omega member is inside the ship tree.
God, gaming is so expensive.
Here, you'll see there's a lot of ships that you can't actually fly unless you have a subscription.
Okay.
Anything that's above all of these little Omega symbols, you can't
it's a trial
unless you have a Omega subscription. So all of the good
it's a pay-to-play game.
Ships basically are locked behind Omega. You still can really like try out the game and play it with alpha without paying, but if you want to get really in depth into some of the end game type stuff, you're gonna need a Omega subscription. All right, another thing about the monetization in this game is you can actually buy in-game currency. This guy here wants to buy the currency that's for like getting skins and for the subscription, and he's gonna pay 2.17 billion ISK, which is interstellar credits. So basically, if you go to the cash shop and you buy 500 Plex, which costs probably $20 or $30, and you can come in here and you can get 2.17 billion, and it's totally allowed. So take that as you will. You can definitely buy
gold.
You can't directly buy currency, but they definitely do allow you to buy in-game currency by using cash shop currency. One thing that I did find really cool about the monetization is any of the skins that you really like, you can earn in-game, which is pretty rare for these types of games.
Very cool.
You can see that all of these different skins for this ship, you can buy them with in-game.
I feel like Star Wars The Old Republic is like a space game for people who are younger and newer to the genre, and this is a space game for people who like really old BioWare games, is sort of the way that it feels to me. There's a lot of customization. There's a whole lot of systems going on. This is not a video game for young people because they just would not find interest in it whatsoever. But as I've gotten older and as I've experienced more and more video games, I've realized that like in order to have this kind of high level of customization, this sort of high level of control over the world around you, it has to be set up in a really specific way. And this is one of the reasons that I buck so hard that concept of the game should be extremely exciting from moment one that you log in. And while I agree that a game needs to be able to hook people, not every game should be made for everybody, and not everybody could handle a game where you can actually control all of the things inside of it, but some people really want that kind of thing. EVE Online is a game where it feels like the players have a lot of agency compared to other games. Something like Fortnite, which is the game that I always think of whenever I think of a game that's fun, from the moment that you jump into it. It's exciting. There's a lot of things going on. You can log in. You can get the item of the month that is based off of some anime. You can dash around, fly through the air, slam down on people, get into fights with people, and just have a blast from the second that you first start playing that game. But the problem with Fortnite is that there isn't a whole lot of control and agency in that game. You don't really affect what Fortnite is at any point. It is a battle royale. It is a game that has all these items. It is a game that you can build in if you want to play build, which I don't know why you would. But it is not a game that you can actually change the way that it feels or the way that it plays in any kind of meaningful way. EVE Online is a game where you can do those things, and MMORPGs have historically been games where the players have more agency than normal, and I feel like EVE Online has taken that dial, that as you turn it, the agency and the ability to create things inside of the game goes up, but also the complication of the game goes up as well. That's why I think I'm attracted to games that feel a lot more complicated, because when a game is more complicated, it means that you have options, and when you have options, as long as you don't have to like fall into a really specific build within those options, and they are just all superfluous, which is something that happens in like World of Warcraft, where in World of Warcraft, you know, you have all these buttons, but you press a certain few of them, and the other ones are just really, really fringe-cased buttons that don't really matter in the grand scheme of things, so it's just clutter at the end of the day. Whenever you can actually choose the things that you want to do, and it matters more what your choices are in that game becomes a whole different thing, where it becomes a real world, because that's what you do in real life. You choose the buttons that you want to press, you choose the dials that you want to turn up, you choose the skills that you want to train, and the game becomes specific to you based on the things that you've trained over that time. Your skill set is going to differ from everybody else's skill set, which means that you're going to be an individual within this world. And when a world is built off of a whole bunch of individuals that are all playing it together, instead of just this is the archetypes that we've all fallen into and we're all doing this exact same thing, and there's this meta that's being run by everybody, and it just becomes this sort of what I would consider to be a solo player experience, because there's not really a need for all of these other people. There's a need for 20, 30 people at any given time, but there's not a world that exists where you need all of these people. But in EVE Online, you have these giant, large-scale wars where everybody participates, and they're all losing ships, and they all have their different strategies for trying to stay alive during these fights, and everybody's sort of working on their own skill set in that kind of way. And you're not just wiping the group and then starting the dungeon over and going back and trying to do it again and trying to adhere to the rigidity of a system that has been built ahead of time that you're playing through. You're actually experiencing and living in the world that exists, and I think that's just the tops, dude. That is what I thought that MMORPGs were going to be when I was a kid, before I started to really understand the similarities between all of them and the way that you sort of start to know the language and the vernacular of an MMORPG. This is a lot more what I thought that it was going to be. I just didn't understand how difficult it would be to make that thing.
Currency. Well, that's really cool. You can get any of these in-game. Overall, do I think this game is worth the $20 a month? Absolutely. I'm sure I missed a lot of stuff. Like I said, I've only been playing this game for 200 hours. I feel like I've barely scratched the surface. I look forward to playing this game a lot more. Maybe I'll do another review after 1,000 hours or something. If that's something that you guys are interested in, make sure you get subscribed to the channel. I appreciate all of you watching. Do me a favor, leave me a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video. Hope you have a good rest of your day, and we will see you in the next.
Yeah, guys, hit his like and hit his subscribe button. Captain Crunch, I've never seen this channel before, but if he's making videos about EVE Online, I will definitely be watching more of them as I get further into this game and actually start playing it. You know, I have a lot of MMOs going on the channel currently. If you've watched to this point, you'll just have to sit here and sort of, you know, hear me rant a little bit. I have a lot of MMOs going on the channel currently, and I've been like balancing a whole bunch of different things, and I'm really enjoying all of my experiences in the games that I've been playing. But there's always room for more in my life, and I love to cycle through things and sort of move things out one side and move something into the other slot and expand that range that I have when it comes to these video games. And EVE Online just feels like another natural step for me as far as actually learning how to do things and get better at what I do as far as playing the games. So if you guys enjoyed the video, make sure that you leave him a like and subscribe to his channel. Do the same for me if you don't mind, and I will see you guys in the next one. Be safe out there. Bye.